Hey there guys. So seeing as I'm here in Peterborough, I thought that I'd use the classroom to my advantage. I've got a whiteboard here that I can use, so I thought that I'd do an education episode, if that's okay with you guys. So, as I said in the previous video, I have been looking through a number of your suggestions over the past few weeks, and one of the things that had been suggested to me in the past was to do a video on the topic of chewing and spitting. And firstly, I'm so sorry that I replied to you saying that I'd do it and never got round to doing it. It just completely slipped my mind. I should have made a list of the suggestions, but I thought that I could handle it in my head, but it just obviously completely disappeared. This goes for all of you. If you have made a suggestion to me in the past and I've either not replied or have replied and you haven't seen a video yet, please just ask me again. I won't be angry or anything. This is just, things do slip my mind because a lot of things are happening at the moment in regards to my schooling, and just generally I'm quite busy. So if you haven't seen the video, please just suggest it again and I'll be happy to reply and add it to this list that I'm now compiling. So what is chewing and spitting? Well, I'd never heard of it at all until one of you guys suggested it to me. So from the research that I've done, chewing and spitting isn't very common, but it's not uncommon at the same time. It's sort of in the middle ground, and it tends to be more with people who have anorexia nervosa. And the idea is that you chew a food and you spit it back out again, so you haven't actually consumed any net calories, but you have had that taste of the food that you have been desiring, for example. However, the other thing that I have seen people saying that they use it for is to get rid of that nasty taste in your mouth that you develop in anorexia nervosa, because as you become starved, you have less glucose in your body, so your body starts to metabolize the fat that it has got stored. And when this happens, it generates something called ketones. I've spoken to you guys about this in my video on, I think it was refeeding syndrome, which I'll put a link to down below. And yeah, as the fat gets metabolized, it produces these ketones, and the ketones are what produces this funny taste in your mouth. And so some people refer to it as a fruity breath odor. And yes, this is true for things like diabetes when they can develop their ketoacidosis state. However, in the case of anorexia, it can produce a very foul smell as well as a very foul taste. And people, I remember that people were commenting on the smell of my breath being extremely distressing. And I mean, people did compare it to the smell of poo. So it can be really foul, and I mean, if you can smell that, imagine what I must have been tasting. So yeah, it may relieve part of that taste. So, what are the long-term effects of it? Well, the first thing is that because you aren't actually swallowing the food, you're not going to be getting any net nutrition from it. And as such, this will just further perpetuate the problem that you're having of being malnourished. And hence, it could potentially cause you to lose more weight. And I know that this might be what the eating disorder wants you to be like, but you know, the person inside you doesn't want to be like this. So, yes, it is important that you do try and stop. However, the thing that I have been looking into is the way that chewing and spitting influences your hormones. So what I'd like to do is just talk to you guys a bit more. Let's see, yeah, that. So, I mean, yeah, this is a person without any legs, but yeah, what I want to talk to you guys about is the way that your body interprets what happens when you chew. So when you see a food, when you smell a food, what this does is it causes a reaction in your tummy, and it causes it to produce hormones, essentially, priming it for the food that you may eventually eat. And this does so by increasing the amount of acid that it produces. It's just trying to make itself ready to digest. And when you put the food in your mouth, this enhances that activity. And this is the so-called cephalic response of eating. And I mean, when you eventually do eat, further responses happen which amplify this many, many-fold. However, that's the first response. Now, aside from this slight change in acidity, there are a few other things that do happen through the act of chewing, as well as when you subsequently eat the food. So the first thing is that the stomach produces a hormone called ghrelin. Now, ghrelin is a hormone that is implicated in feeling hungry, and it's produced by the stomach, and it travels all the way up to the brain by the blood. And once it's in the brain, it actually increases the amount of hunger that you're experiencing, and it's thought that this may just allow you to continue eating. Now, eventually, there is a break to the mechanism once you have eaten enough. However, ghrelin just continues to make you feel as if you want more, and then stop. The other thing that ghrelin does is it acts in different parts of the brain to increase the amount of dopamine that there is. And I said in a previous video that dopamine is related to the reward response, and it's thought that this may be one of the reasons why you feel a sense of reward when you eat. So the other hormone that I'd like to talk to you guys about is something called obistatin. Now, obistatin is one of the hormones that puts the brake on hunger. So, why are these two hormones relevant? Well, there was a paper released in 2008, and if you guys are interested, I'll put it down in the link below. And it had a look at people with anorexia nervosa. Now, what they did was they put them on an overnight fast, which is a bit, but then they gave them their standardized breakfast. And then after that, they gave them a lunch. Now, this is separated into controls and the test subjects. In the controls, they ate the lunch. In the test subjects, they did the act of chewing and spitting. They also compared it to people who don't have anorexia nervosa. What did they actually find? Well, firstly, they found that people with anorexia nervosa have a higher level of baseline ghrelin compared to people who don't have anorexia. And this may be one of the reasons why people with anorexia tend to feel hungry a lot of the time. However, they also found that through the act of chewing and spitting, the amount of ghrelin increased more than through the act of eating. And moving to obistatin, they found that the baseline in people with anorexia is actually higher. However, there was a sharp decrease through the act of chewing and spitting. So, what does this mean? Well, what this could mean is that if the amount of ghrelin goes higher when you just chew and spit, this could potentially make you feel hungrier. And if obistatin were to sharply decrease, this could make you feel hungrier as well, because there's less of a brake on that mechanism. So what could this do? Well, this could make you feel as though you have a lack of control, and this could just cause you to do more chewing and spitting to try and alleviate that symptom. But then this will just go into a vicious cycle, and this could potentially lead to the act of binge eating, which has been linked to people who do chew and spit. So it is quite an interesting thing to consider. And I hope that I've been quite clear in that. But yes, that's one of the things that the act of chewing and spitting has been linked to. And I hope that has been an informative thing for you to try and understand. So, what can you do to try and stop this thing from happening? Well, the number one thing is to don't let it start. I know this is a very obvious thing to say. However, from what I've said, this could be a very self-perpetuating thing, which could lead to binge eating. So if you just try and stop the thing from happening, then this could be a great thing. It's easier said than done, of course. However, the things that you need to do are the things that I've tried to tell you guys to do time and time again. Let someone know what you're doing. Chewing and spitting isn't a normal thing. So someone from the public will just it won't come to the forefront of their mind. If they see someone with anorexia, they'll just think that you're not eating. If you've got these additional behaviours that you think that you might need help in, then feel no shame in asking for someone for help, because they can keep an eye on you. They can do things for you that you didn't think they might have done. So it never hurts to ask for help. It really doesn't. The other obvious things are to let your therapist know, because you feel as though you are putting food into your mouth. it might not be the first thing that you think of when you're trying to get better. It might not be the first thing of that you think to tell your therapist about things that you need to try and help alleviating. So if you do let your therapist know, this could be extremely helpful for you, because this may be one of the things that is really impeding your recovery, because you feel as though you are putting things into your mouth, so what's the big deal? I mean, other than that, if you guys have any suggestions of ways that you can stop this, please let me know in the comments section below, because I've never done this before in my life, and I could do with some knowledge for some input from you guys. Yeah, so I mean, I hope this video has been useful. It certainly taught me a lot, and I mean, if you guys have any other suggestions about things that you'd like to see in future education videos, please do let me know, and I'll be happy to try and fit them in. But for now, thanks for watching.